Good morning and welcome to the pharmacology class. Today's topic is autonomic nervous system. This is the first topic we start with the uh, 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 we start the pharmacology uh, drugs. We start to study pharmacology drugs, and this is the first type of the drugs we study. And before we begin to discuss the drugs, uh, I would like you to remember uh, the structure of the autonomic nervous system, because drugs that we discuss today and we will learn further are influencing the autonomic nervous system, and it is rather simple and will help you to understand uh, how to how drugs influence the body of the human. So the autonomous nervous system is a rather simple one, despite the central nervous system, and autonomous nervous system is consists of the consists of the two divisions. So actually the nervous system is divided to peripheral and central, and peripheral nervous system is also called the so the peripheral nervous system. We will discuss peripheral nervous system about 4 classes from now, and this is the structure. So autonomic nervous system is here, but it's part of the peripheral nervous system. The peripheral nervous system is divided to afferent division and afferent division. So this division is rather uh, 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 it's by function. So the afferent division will uh, will make a connection with some effect, like the muscle that will contract, or the uh, the secretion system that will eject the secrete, and then so the signal is going from the in afferent division. The signal is coming from the nervous system to the some muscle or other organ, and this is from up down ups from the signal is coming down side, so from the central nervous system then to the peripheral nervous system and then to the affected organ. Another division is afferent division. In the afferent division, the signal is vice versa. It's coming from the sensory system, like the hot, the when you feel the hot temperature or the surface of the tactile receptor, and also the pain with the nociceptor receptor. So the signal is coming from the some organ, usually is your skin, and then it goes to the central nervous system. So it's up, right? So it's the signal is traveling up. So this is the two divisions. We will focus on efferent division in pharmacology because most of the drugs that influence the peripheral nervous system are autonomic nervous system drugs, and autonomic nervous system is part of the efferent division. Besides the autonomic nervous system, the efferent division also has the somatic system. Somatic system is the system that helps you to move. So somatic means that it's under the control of the human or animal. So somatic means that if you want to raise your hand, you think about raising your hand, and then hand is going up. So autonomic nervous system is not under control of the body. So it's completely autonomic. Like your heart is beating, you don't need to think that your heart should beat, and which you cannot change the frequency of the heartbeat. Sorry. And also the breath is also completely autonomic, and also the urination and defecation are also autonomic. Besides, there is a sphincter that is part of the somatic system, so you sometimes can prevent the defecation and urination, but not much. So autonomic nervous system also divided to sympathetic and parasympathetic parts, and these two subsystems are actually the controversial, so they fight each other. Like sympathetic nervous system will do one thing, parasympathetic will do the opposite one. But in short, the sympathetic nervous system is stimulating the body for the fight and for the activation, while parasympathetic is will make you to sleep and also to eat. So sympathetic is run and fight, and parasympathetic is sleep and eat. So which of them you like more? Me personally, I like more parasympathetic. That is why I'm yawning now. So actually, and sympathetic is actually, I also like it once I have a meal and also when I slept well. So this actually two contra versions. So these systems are opposite. So if sympathetic system activates, it will make the parasympathetic less active, and vice versa. So the difference between the sympathetic and parasympathetic are not only by their function, but also by the structure. And both sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system have two neurons. So this is actually distinctive structure of the autonomous nervous system, because somatic nervous system will have only one neuron. So autonomic nervous system have two neurons. So the first neuron is going from the central nervous system, brain or spinal cord to the ganglia. Ganglia is located near the spinal cord or near the organ depending on the sympathetic and or parasympathetic. And then the ganglia is actually a connection with another neuron. So this is one neuron, this is the axon. At the end there is a synapse, so this is a synapse, and then this is second neuron, and it also have an axon, and this is uh, this this is the second synapse, and this is effector organ. Usually it is a muscle. So first neuron goes from the brain to the ganglia. Ganglia is near the spinal cord, and then the second neuron goes from the ganglia to the organ. So there are two neurons, and there is one neurotransmitter in the ganglia and the second neurotransmitter in the effector organ, and these can be different depending on the sympathetic or parasympathetic. We will talk about that later. So, but still the first neuron is called preganglionic because it is before the ganglia, and then the second neuron is called postganglionic because it is after ganglia. So post is not about the postal office. Post is after, means after. Pre means before. So preganglionic and postganglionic neuron. So, and this is the schematic of the opposite effects of the sympathetic and parasympathetic actions. So the sympathetic are in red and parasympathetic are in blue. So red sympathetic is sympathetic is actually red because it's emergency, so it's fight and run, and parasympathetic is blue, so it's cold and sleeping, eating. So we will start from the top to the bottom, and then we start with the eyes. So eyes are for vision, and sympathetic nervous system will contract the iris radial muscle, and then that will dilate the pupil. So uh, this makes you able to see better during the night, so or see better. So actually, and there are also lacrimal glands that stimulate. They produce the tears. So sympathetic nervous system will not stimulate the tears, while parasympathetic will stimulate. So you don't need to you don't need tears. You don't need to cry during your running or fighting. So that is why there is no stimulation by sympathetic nervous system. And then the next is salivary glands. And salivary glands will be stimulated by the sympathetic and parasympathetic both. And sympathetic nervous system will make the saliva more thick, while the parasympathetic will make it more copious and watery. So it's better to have a more water in saliva while you eat. That is why the parasympathetic nervous system will stimulate the watery secretion of the salivary glands. Then the next is trachea and bronchioles. Trachea and bronchioles will dilate during the running, so they can they can make more air pass through them, and then the Parasympathetic is opposite constriction and also will increase the secretion of the mucosa to help to clean the trachea and bronchioles. The heart is very straightforward, so when you run you need increase rate, and then when you are resting your heart is also resting, so the rate of contraction is less. So as the same is with the contractility or the force, like when you run you need to pump the blood more. That is why sympathetic will also increase the contractility, but when you are resting you don't need much blood to run, so then the contractions will decrease. And the adrenal medulla will secrete the epinephrine and norepinephrine. Those two are stimulating the heart, so this only stimulated by the sympathetic nervous system. Parasympathetic will not influence the adrenal medulla. Adrenal medulla is like a synapse, but it is very large and will secrete the epinephrine and norepinephrine, while the most synapses will only secrete the norepinephrine. So epinephrine and norepinephrine have almost the same action and influence. Then the kidney will produce the renin. Renin will contract the vessels, increase the arterial pressure, and that is activated during the stimulation of the sympathetic nervous system. A GI system is stimulated by the parasympathetic nervous system, so this is very logic, because when you rest you need to digest your food, so and also after digesting the food you want to sleep. So this is the influence of the parasympathetic nervous system, which increases motility and tone, and then the sympathetic nervous system will decrease motility and tone, so that is opposite. Then the uterus and bladder, the bladder will relax, so that will increase the volume, so you can hold the urine more. And contraction of trigonal sphincter will make you able not to urinate for a long time, so you can run for and fight longer. Then the contraction of the trachea and relaxation of sphincters will make you feel to urinate, so you need to run to the toilet instead of where you were running before. So this is the parasympathetic nervous system. And the genitalia are different for the male and female. For the male, the sympathetic nervous system will make the stimulation of ejaculation, and that is helpful during the lovemaking. And then the parasympathetic nervous system will stimulate the erection. So erection is also helpful during the lovemaking, but it's not an active process, so actually it's like a rest. That is why. So ejaculation is more like a work for the male genitalia, because it makes sperm to pump outside, and that requires force. So the erection itself does not require any work because it's just the blood filling the penis. So in female, uh, there is only stimulation by the sympathetic nervous system, and uh, the stimulation uh, of the sympathetic nervous system will lead to the relaxation of the uterus, and you will tell that relaxation is actually it's a parasympathetic nervous system, because when you relax it's rest, it's not the work. But for the reason is that the female genitalia is the smooth muscle, and as any smooth muscle, it will relax when stimulated by the sympathetic nervous system, because it's working state for the female genitalia. So uh, it's because contraction will actually lead to the it's contracted uh, by the oxytocin during the labor. So actually the work for the female genitalia uh, is delivery of the baby. So the that is why the sympathetic nervous system will lead to the relaxation, uh, because usually women will not deliver very frequently, like every day. So, and there is a different system for the delivery, so that is why it's not controlled by the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, because it takes much time. Sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system are actually very fast acting ones. So, and the bloods are a little bit different in skeletal muscle and in the other muscles. So like in skeletal muscle, the sympathetic nervous system will lead to dilation of the vessels that will make the blood more blood to be delivered to the skeletal muscles than other muscles, so they have much oxygen, so they can contract longer, faster, and uh, to reduce tightness. And then the blood vessels of the other organs like skin, mucous membrane, and splanchnic area will contract by the stimulation of the sympathetic nervous system. And pay attention that the blood vessels don't have parasympathetic action, so because they don't have parasympathetic neurons, so they only have a sympathetic neurons. So that is why uh, the parasympathetic nervous system will not act on blood vessels at all. However, there are receptors for the uh, parasympathetic agonist, but it's not working there because parasympathetic nervous system is not, there are no neurons. So this is the main organs and the actions. Then let's see the way the cells can signal between each one. So the ways are pretty simple. So first is endocrine signaling. It's very long way. So there is a hormone like adrenaline, or so, and this is actually adrenal medulla, and it will secrete the epinephrine or adrenaline. Adrenaline is a second name for the epinephrine. So epinephrine is in the blood now, and then it travels with the blood to the target cells. So actually to all the cells and all the organs, it will stimulate actually like heart contraction, including increased heart contraction. So this is very uh, It's not very fast. Sometimes it's faster, sometimes it's longer. So endocrine signaling. Sometimes it takes several minutes, sometimes it takes several days, or even months during the pregnancy, for example. So then the second is direct contact. Direct contact is also which is rare one, but still it can only can be done between two cells that are adjacent. So that is why it's usually not much seen and studied. So, and the most common one is synaptic signaling. Synaptic is usually from the nerve cell to the some muscle, or from the nerve to another nerve, and there is a synaptic cleft. Here, synaptic cleft, that, and the nerve ending will release some neurotransmitter, that here is green, and there are receptors on the postsynaptic membrane that will be activated or influenced by the neurotransmitter, and then the target cell will make something. It will contract, or neuron then will produce the action potential, and then make another synapse with the muscle, like in the sympathetic or parasympathetic nervous system, because there are two neurons with the ganglia. So, and this is the structure of the autonomic and somatic nervous system, actually in the peripheral nervous system and the afferent division of the peripheral nervous system. So divided to the two autonomic and somatic. Somatic have one neuron, so no ganglia, there is only one neuron, and the transmitter is acetylcholine. Acetylcholine is actually the most common transmitter, and the receptor is nicotinic receptor that is on the surface of the muscle, and subtype of receptor is M, so from the muscle. So then the autonomic nervous system is rather complex because it's divided to sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. This one we'll discuss later. Like, pay attention to the central part. This one, sympathetic and parasympathetic. So there are two neurons, preganglionic neuron, this one red, and postganglionic neuron. So this is the ganglia, this is ganglia, this is ganglia, and the transmitter is acetylcholine in both sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system in the ganglia. So ganglia is actually almost the same. The postganglionic neuron is different. In sympathetic nervous system, the transmitter is norepinephrine, while in parasympathetic is acetylcholine. So these are different. So the postganglionic neurons are different and transmitters are different, and then receptors are also different. So because acetylcholine will have a muscarinic receptor, this is M type, M cholinergic receptor or muscarinic receptor, and norepinephrine will have a adrenergic receptor that can be alpha or beta. So, but still it's adrenergic, so for adrenaline and norepinephrine. So the different receptors here. There is also a adrenal medulla that can be seen as a synapse, so like, but it's very large synapse, giga synapse. Like the same is here. There are two neurons. Like there are actually one neuron that is acetylcholine will stimulate the adrenal medulla, but adrenal medulla can be seen as a neuron too, but it's very overgrowth neuron, and it will produce much epinephrine. That epinephrine will secrete to the blood and then also act on the adrenergic receptor. So this is very same but the difference is here. The second neuron is replaced by the adrenal medulla, that is actually an organ, very large. So this is the structure of the autonomic and somatic nervous system. You have to remember the postganglionic and preganglionic neurons and the transmitter types and receptor types. And by the way, in the ganglia there is a nicotinic receptor that is neuronal, type N, from the neuronal, or suppose it's actually between two neurons. So this is a nicotinic receptor. Also acetyl for acetylcholine. So receptor type is same as the transmitter type. So that is all with the lecture. So what are your questions? Any questions? Sandy, no questions?
No.
No. Okay, so then if no question, then thank you for attending the lecture. It's over.